How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Let's talk about the top cryptos to buy for April 2023. Now, we've had a lot happen over the last month. I want to cover some of that, why you might want to be investing into cryptocurrency now, what to look out for, what's happening in the market, and then go through some of my top projects, some of the cryptos that I think will do the best. Now, up front, I want to tell you, I am biased. A lot of these cryptos here that I'm talking about, I hold, and I don't hold many cryptos. I only hold 4 different cryptos right now, but I want to make a list because there are a couple that I'm looking at, a couple that I want to invest more in, a couple that are on this list that I haven't invested in a while, but I'll lay all that out and explain why that is, why I've been doing what I've been doing. And I also want to be clear, my position's different than your position, right? I might be willing to take more risk or less risk than you. We have different portfolio sizes, we have different time horizons and all that. So just know that you have to adapt this to your own portfolio and your own mindset because it's not going to be right for everyone. With that being said, I do want to hear from you which cryptos you're looking at buying the most. So leave that in the comment section. And there is a link down to the Patreon in case you want to get real-time updates when I sell and buy cryptos. I've actually been buying 2 different cryptos on this list over the last few days because I sold different crypto. I sold part of a different crypto and then I bought these other 2 cryptos I think will do really well. But let's just look at the market. Obviously, we're down a little bit here, 2.7% over the last 24 hours. But to be honest, we've had a really good run with Bitcoin going up from 16,000 very recently all the way up to 27,000 now. And we have fallen a little bit over the last few days. But honestly, we've made such a massive run over the last few weeks that I don't think anyone can be too upset. Again, we're the best performing asset class, or Bitcoin is one of the best performing assets this year. So I don't think there's too much we can complain about right now. And a lot of how crypto does in the short term is determined by macro. We know that the Fed has pretty much had to cut how much they're going to increase rates. I shouldn't say cut, but they've had to stop increasing rates so aggressively because they're breaking the economy. We know recently they were breaking down banks, and I won't go through everything that happened there because we've done a lot of videos on it, but basically now banks aren't completely safe in a lot of people's minds because banks were going down left and right very recently. And if you had over the $250,000 limit for FDIC insurance, which a lot of companies do or wealthier individuals do, you're kind of SOL if the federal government, if the government allows it to just collapse. And we've seen a lot of banks having an issue recently, and while the Fed continues to raise rates, it causes more and more stress on the banks. So this has, I think, shown some of the properties that people like about crypto, the fact that it is decentralized and that you can hold your own keys and that you aren't putting all your money in some bank that's going to go out and leverage your money and give you a very small fraction of what they make. Instead, you actually control your money and it can't be leveraged away from you or mismanaged away from you. So I think that has caused some people to want to get into Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of the other cryptocurrencies. We've also seen even stablecoins aren't super safe recently because stablecoins have to keep their US dollar equivalent somewhere. For example, USDC had their money at SVB, which caused some concern, and it didn't end up being anything really because they got their money back. But I think that's something to consider when you are talking about crypto. That some of the biggest blow-ups from last year, some of the top cryptos that have collapsed were stablecoins or stablecoin related. So keep that in mind. Now, we also know that the Fed is increasing their balance sheet. They say this is temporary just to give help to the banks, but we know what that means. They're basically running up the balance sheet. Who knows whether they'll actually take it off or not. This is still stimulatory where they are helping liquidity at the banks, which the banks are going to feed back and provide more liquidity to everyone else. So this typically is good for cryptocurrency. It's good for risk assets when the Fed's adding to their balance sheet, and it kind of makes sense too. If everything's becoming more inflated, you eventually have to invest somewhere to get some kind of return, and people turn to riskier assets. And it also means that they're probably less likely to continue raising rates if they're already stimulating in another way. because it kind of counteracts each other anyway. So if they start lowering rates at some point, even if it's not this year, but starting next year, then the discount rate that you have to use going forward is less and less, so riskier assets become more attractive. And again, we'll get to the cryptos here in a second, but we can start to see some players making moves. NASDAQ targets mid-2023 for crypto custody launch. Fidelity Crypto is here now as well, offering it to their millions and millions of clients. So two really big traditional finance companies are getting into crypto, getting ready for the next bull run. At the same time, we've had Operation Choke Point 2.0. This is a little bit of a conspiracy theory, but not really. It's pretty obvious that the government is going after crypto companies. They've gone after staking services. They've gone after major exchanges. They've gone after specific companies that run cryptocurrencies. They've gone after, they've been trying to protect you against spot ETFs. So it's pretty obvious that the government is out to get crypto, which some people think makes a better case for crypto in the first place. Anytime a country tries to ban a substance or a cryptocurrency, sometimes it becomes much more prevalent and people realize, okay, maybe there's something here that we should own. We've seen that in China a lot. But we're also seeing, some dark clouds, not just the government trying to ban cryptocurrency and make it a lot harder to get money into crypto here in the US. That's not quite positive. We also see Binance and CZ getting sued by the CFTC, and the CFTC saying that they tried to willfully evade US laws. They were trying to tell people to use VPNs. They were going after US customers for their Binance platform instead of Binance US because they thought they would be profitable to have over on Binance. Now, we'll have to see how this all shakes out, but you can see there are some positives and there are some negatives to investing in crypto right now. That's always the case. With that being said, we are still pretty low compared to where we've been in the past, and we are getting closer and closer to the next halving. And we know that the Fed's going to have to continue printing money. The government's going to have to continue deflating the value of the U.S. currency. So that's why those are some of the reasons I like crypto long term, and specifically Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the first crypto on this list that we have to be looking at because, first of all, it's just the largest. And that allows people, larger entities and banks and asset companies that, buy and hold assets, hedge funds, that kind of thing, and individual investors that have a lot of money, it allows them to invest more, right? Someone that has a couple $1 billion isn't going to go invest in a $200 million crypto. So this will continue to get adoption. It's the most decentralized. It is, I think, by far the best cryptocurrency in terms of safety. And it's the only one that I think you can truly believe is decentralized and the code won't change. There is a specific amount of supply that will continue to be added every single block, every single year. And it's very easy to chart out. And there aren't as many black swans or dark clouds on the horizon for Bitcoin as some of these other cryptocurrencies. I think by far it's the safest. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go up 2, 3, 4, 5x, more than 2x, but 3 to 10x in the next cycle. And I have a wide range there. I realize that, but still, even on the low end, if we were saying, okay, it's just barely going to beat all-time highs, that's still a 3x. Tell me another asset that has the same risk profile as Bitcoin that can do a 3x in the next few years. I think it's going to be hard to find many assets like that. We also have some good technicals. Recently, we crossed the 50-week moving average. Look at the gains every time this has happened. 21%, 2,100%, 7,500%, 1,100%. It's not just the 50 week moving average, though. We also crossed the 200-week moving average, which is typically a good sign. That means that if we can stay above it, that we've marked the bottom. Hopefully, we don't just do this where we fall right back below it. If we can bounce off 25,500 or so as support, that would be really bullish. We also have been up for 3 months in a row, assuming the end of this month ends decently, that we don't actually go back down to negative for the month. Typically, this starts bull markets. And, here you can see a little bit of a dip afterwards, some complacency, but then we start moving back up. That could be the case for this cycle as well. And you can see the rational root, the Bitcoin spiral halving cycle. This might be a little bit confusing at first, but if you just take a look here, you can see every time we wrap around, that's one halving cycle. Typically, we see the bottoms right around here. This is the average between the last 4 cycle bottoms. If you include the estimated last bottom, which was around 15,500 for Bitcoin just a few months ago, the mid cycle is here. We are actually up here because this is from about 3 weeks ago. So we are almost 3/4 of the way to the next halving cycle. This is typically where we start to recover, start to move up, and you can see the all-time highs are over here. So, in a few months, we will be halfway basically to the next all-time high, most likely. And again, people will most likely front run the next halving. Now, there are always things that come up that cause fear in the market, that cause Bitcoin's price to go down. Some people might have thought that, we wouldn't have fallen down to 15.5 or 16.5 because people realize that this is typically where the Bitcoin bottom is. So people would front run that. They would start buying here because they realize this is as low as it's going to get. But that doesn't always happen because there's enough FUD and fear in the market that people don't want to invest, right? When FTX is collapsing and we don't know how bad it is, and the US is going after so many different cryptos and crypto exchanges, right when it looks darkest, that's when it starts to get better. So that is one more point for Bitcoin, is that, typically we do bottom before this. Now, there has been one Bitcoin bottom that was a little bit later, almost at the 3/4 mark, but we're getting very close to that mark soon. And in the next month or so, I think we will be at this 3/4 of the way mark. And in about 1 year, we'll have the next Bitcoin halving. So that is pretty positive for Bitcoin. Now, we also have news recently in the lawsuit against Binance from the CFTC. They said Bitcoin and Ethereum, along with Litecoin, are commodities. They stated that they were commodities and that Binance was selling them without registering with the CFTC. That's one more piece of law, or that's one more place in a lawsuit where a government entity called Bitcoin and Ether commodities. This is really positive because the SEC continues to go after cryptocurrencies for being securities. But as we continue to hear more and more about cryptos that are commodities, I think people will feel more comfortable that there's not going to be some major regulatory crackdown. That brings up the next crypto, Ethereum. Ethereum Shanghai hard fork has an official date of April 12th. Now, they had a date back in March. It got pushed back. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. It might happen, so be ready for that. But Ethereum has done pretty well during this bear market. It's held up pretty well against Bitcoin. It's at about a 0.063 ratio Ethereum to Bitcoin. And I personally have been waiting for the most part to buy Ethereum, buy more Ethereum, because I think it will fall against Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin dominance will go up. So I want to be clear, I am not buying Ethereum with any new money right now. I did sell some crypto recently and I put a little bit into Ethereum and then most of it into Bitcoin. So I did rebalance a little bit, but I am looking to buy more Ethereum because I think this upgrade will be really important for Ethereum. Now, it might create a sell-off because some people will have access to their Ethereum that haven't had it in a very long time. So that has been a upwards pressure on Ethereum because people just haven't been able to sell. They've just had to hold. So I think there could be some fear around that. That will happen over a while where people get their Ethereum unlocked, but that could cause some selling pressure. But this is overall great for the cryptocurrency. You can see that we are deflationary. This will make it more deflationary, I believe, as well. And it will also cause more people to want to stake. Personally, I don't want to stake because I don't know when I'll have access to that Ethereum. But if I know, like in 30 days, hey, I'm going to get that back, then I'm more comfortable with that. And I'm more willing to stake. And I think overall, more people will buy Ethereum because of the opportunity to stake when that happens. But we might have a sell-off as this approaches or after it goes live with some kind of fear or selling of the event where people bought ahead of time. They thought it was going to pump and now they're selling because the upgrade's gone through. We've seen that a lot in the past. So that is the next safest crypto, I believe, as well, Ethereum. It's not as risky as anything else on the list. besides Bitcoin, Bitcoin's a little bit safer, but I think Ethereum's the second safest as well and second largest in market cap. So it's easy for large investors to buy some. So that's the second crypto. Again, I have not been buying it very much recently. I've really just been buying Bitcoin over last year with the exception of some changes in my portfolio where I sold out of a cryptocurrency and then put most into Bitcoin, but a little bit into Ethereum. But I'm looking to buy more and I've just been patient with it. The next crypto on this list is Phantom, FTM, ranked 45. So this is a little bit further down the list. This is definitely riskier. Don't get me wrong. This is definitely far down on the risk curve compared to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's riskier than a lot of other equities and other investments as well. So keep that in mind. But Phantom, I think, has a lot of potential. It's around a $1.1 billion market cap. Recently, it actually went up to about 65 cents a share. Now it's down nearly 50%. What is that? Maybe 40% since the top. And I think it still has a lot of potential. In the next bull run, I think it could be a 10x. In the last bull run, we saw it around, around $3.14. Keep in mind that they are diluting a little bit, but unlike a lot of other cryptos that are a little bit newer, it's not diluting so much, right? The majority of the crypto is already in the circulating supply, so they'll have some unlocks going forward. They'll have some token rewards, but 88% is circulating already, so they're not just dumping on the market. They're not just dumping on retail buyers. I do think Phantom still has a decent amount of TVL. Keep in mind that the USD TVL has come down a lot because Phantom in general has come down a lot. The TVL was around 8 billion. Now it's around 436 million, so down about 95%. But when you look at the peak of Phantom, because the Phantom tokens have gone down a lot, we had about 6 billion and now it's down to 1 billion. So down about 83 or 85% now as opposed to 95%. Keep in mind, too, they do have a large war chest. So they have Andre Crony, their lead developer, their superstar developer, back. And he's really focusing specifically on Phantom at this point. This is also a layer one, which I think is safer than some of the specific gaming or metaverse cryptos, or some of those that can't benefit from an ecosystem. It's really just all on their own project. Phantom, I think, has that benefit. And I want to get back to the treasure chest that they have. They have a large amount of money and runway. They have hundreds of millions of dollars in USD and in crypto. And they're at a cash flow positive rate right now, which I think is really positive. It just tells you that they're safer, in a better position. They're not going to have to do some kind of crazy sale or anything like other cryptos. If we continue to go through a bear market, they're just on the safer side of the riskier cryptos, if that makes sense. So once you move down the line, they're all a little bit riskier. But I think they are in a good position to take advantage in the next bull run. Now, the next crypto is actually not a crypto. It's cash. So we'll get to one after this. But the next thing that I think you should consider is some cash, because we don't know what the market's going to do. And every month when I talk about the top cryptos, I talk about some cash, having some cash available. And I'm not talking about necessarily going and selling anything. I'm not selling anything, but I've been holding out some cash just in case we have some black swan. Maybe it's Binance collapsing. Not trying to spread FUD here, but we've seen FTX collapse. So something like that, or something that causes the price to go down dramatically. A lot of people still think we'll hit new lows. I'm not so sure about that, but there are always good buying in opportunities. And if there's a mismatch between the price action and how much the news actually affects the long-term outlook of that crypto, then that's where the opportunity lies, right? There's some people that will sell out because short-term there's risk, even if long-term there's not risk. So that's where long-term buyers can really take advantage. And I think it does make sense to have cash right now. I do have cash. I don't want to say a certain specific percentage of my portfolio that's cash, because my cash is for stocks, crypto, and real estate. So it's not like I have 3 different buckets of cash getting ready. It's just all where I see the opportunity, that week or that month, depending on the market cycle. So I think it does make sense to have some. Let me know if you have cash in the comment section below, and when you're looking at deploying it. Then the last crypto I want to talk about, we've seen a kind of a massive change this week. Amazon could launch an NFT marketplace as soon as April, according to sources from the company. We also heard Sony is eyeing NFT transfers across multiple game platforms according to some patents that they have. So we're seeing a couple really big gaming companies get into NFTs. Amazon is specifically working with a couple different layer ones as well. So I think layer ones take advantage of this. I think they'll benefit from large companies. We're talking about $100 billion companies, $1 trillion companies getting into NFTs and gaming. I think layer ones in general will benefit, but some specific gaming cryptos will also benefit. They might have to work with some of these different crypto companies to build and to, basically build out into the NFT marketplace, into different communities that are already built in to be able to help with this technology. So I am on the lookout. I don't want to even give a specific crypto, but I'm looking for some kind of picks and shovels play, something maybe like Engine Coin, or Gala, something that's not like a specific world, like Decentraland or the Sandbox. Now, maybe those will do well if more companies get into gaming, or if we go into the next bull run here soon. All of these will probably do well, right? When crypto in general does well, or Bitcoin does well, other cryptos are going to benefit as well. But I want to look at something that's a little bit less risky, that's not just going to go up if one specific game gains traction. I want something that has maybe 50 games underneath it, and any of them, if they hit it big, that bigger cryptocurrency benefits. Where, maybe they're just making money from helping these different games, right? Something like that. So I am looking for something like that, and there's nothing yet that seems like it's at such a great value that I'm going to buy it. Keep in mind, we could see gaming cryptos drop off a lot if the overall market drops. Typically, these drop more and fluctuate more than something like Bitcoin or Ethereum. And a lot of them I have to be a little bit careful about too, because the circulating supply is so low compared to their overall supply. They do dump tokens. They constantly have selling pressure. So I want to be careful about that. If I miss out because I'm just a little bit too careful, I'm okay with that. I am largely invested into Bitcoin right now. The majority of my portfolio is Bitcoin, and that's really the only thing that I've been actively buying significant amounts of over the last year. Now, since we moved up from 20,000, I really haven't bought much. Like I said earlier, I did sell some of another cryptocurrency and bought some Bitcoin and some Ethereum with it, just for risk management reasons. So I did buy some Bitcoin recently, but it was not new money to my crypto portfolio. It's just kind of shifting money around at this point since we moved up just a few weeks ago, mostly because I was able to buy a lot towards the bottom. Under 20,000, I kept on buying consistently. And at this point, it's making up a larger and larger part of my portfolio. As Bitcoin moves up in value, I want to be careful about not adding too much because it is significant. Not that I don't believe in crypto a lot, because I obviously do. I talk about it every single day, but I want to make sure that I'm still well diversified. And typically, as soon as you want to start showing off your gains in a crypto, that's typically a good time to think about selling it. Same thing with the stock. So I'm not super proud of this yet, but as we move up, when we start hitting all-time highs, that might be a time worth considering trimming some positions. I actually did that on Polygon and Phantom. Not that we were hitting all-time highs, but just a few, maybe a month ago or so, I sold some because Polygon was at $1.30 or $1.40. Phantom was at $1.60, and it just seemed like they moved up so quickly. Phantom had 3.5x in a few weeks. So I took some profits and now they're down. So I look back at it and I'm happy that I did that because, I took some off the table when we had been pumping, and that seems to be the right thing to do. Now, with that in mind, if you don't have a large allocation to crypto, that's why I make these videos. If you're looking for cryptos and looking for specific narratives, for information, that's why I make these videos, because I want to lay out my thought process behind my portfolio and what I'm going to do in the month ahead. Now, some of this could change, right? If Ethereum has some massive problem, and I think that's really going to hurt the long-term vision of the crypto and the long-term network effects of the crypto, I'm not going to go in just because it's down 20%. I'm not just going to pile in, right? You have to be able to evaluate what's happening on a daily basis or weekly basis at least, evaluate the news and make your own conclusions about whether it makes sense to invest, because just buying something because it's down isn't the best option. That's not a good long-term scenario, because you could have bought Luna when it started to fall down 99% and gone all in. And that would have been a terrible thing for you because it went down 99% more. So you have to be able to manage risk. Now, let me know your thoughts about this underneath the video. If you want information as soon as I buy or sell different cryptos or stocks, you can check out the link to the Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you can see future videos just like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.